What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of On the Record, presented by CalledIt. I'm your host, Andy Burke, and joining me today, we've got the duo of Cormac United and Adam Kaufman, who will be talking about the Daily Call, which does go around tomorrow, or today's matchup. I was thinking of yesterday. We were talking it. Today's matchup. We are here with the Final Four beginning in the World Cup for France and Spain. We were kind of labeling it the pseudo championship, as some people have it that way, aka Dane Martinez. Shout out to you, my friend. Yesterday, he was kind of labeling it as that. We'll see what Cormac and Adam have to say about it. The Daily Call, in case you missed it, does revolve around that game, so we will rehash that momentarily. We'll talk a little bit more soccer later in the show as well, kind of talk about the lasting impact the World Cup may make, especially in the United States. Will soccer stay popular? Are all these Americans who are getting more and more energized about the sport going to continue that fandom post-World Cup? I'm curious what Cormac and Adam have to say about that. And then also we're going to go across the pond for the Open. Yes, the British Open starts this week. Golf's got another major coming, and we will be sharing a few golfers who we think are going to have a good chance out there across the pond. So, yeah, we were talking about the Scottish Open last week. A couple of guys we threw out there who were flirting with the top, but we'll see if we can get you guys a winner in what's being traded at Kelsey right now for the British Open. But let's go ahead and bring in our fellas for today's show. We've got Cormac, who you can follow on TikTok at Cormac_United on Instagram and TikTok with that handle, by the way. Cormac, how we feeling today, baby? Bittersweet feeling, I'm sure. Final Four, but excitement in the air.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of think about the last four teams, and I look at the two sides of the bracket, and I feel like it's kind of like the beautiful game versus just the opposite, whatever you want to call the opposite of the beautiful game. I feel like today we get to watch the beautiful game. Two teams that are going to play some beautiful football. Maybe tomorrow we won't have the same interest in beautiful game. Maybe a bit more interest in some crunching tackles. I'd expect, but I'm very excited for today's matchup, and I think I would probably agree that this is going to be possibly, if you look at the two teams on paper, maybe the biggest matchup of the World Cup so far.
Yeah, the opposite of the beautiful game, I think, is whatever transpired with the USA and Belgium, particularly on the United States side. I think it's safe to say that would be the opposite of what could come today between France and Spain. Also on our other side, we've got our man Adam Kaufman, at Adam M. Kaufman. He got the gray memo today, baby. We're repping it. It's the gray day. Adam out on the East Coast. Apparently, this guy doesn't know Noah Khan, and it's throwing me off today. Adam, please explain yourself a little bit on that.
Well, first off, not just the gray day, but the full-on called it day. You know, in the spirit of music, I am officially, I guess, the guy wearing the name of the shirt on the, name of the band on the way to the concert guy. You know, that's the way this is all playing out. And so, yeah, it takes us back to Noah Khan. I don't know, man. I still listen to music from the 80s and 90s. That's my wheelhouse. I am officially an old. I am a person that does not keep up with the new music. He can have all the sellouts at Fenway Park that he wants, and apparently is in my backyard from Vermont. Yeah, I don't know. Nor do I tend to listen, and I've never heard any of his songs, at least knowingly. I'm sure I've heard something, and I just don't, affiliate it with Noah Khan. But in looking at some of the social media threads breaking down his music, I don't need whiny, depressing music in my life. I'm good. Give me some of the hip hop that I grew up on.
Fair enough, but here's the thing. While the lyrics itself are like whiny and depressive, he makes it more upbeat with a lot of them. So you're singing along in a happy manner about the depression. So there's a way he works around it, Adam. He does it well. He's actually in my neck of the woods here, playing at Wrigley Field now the next couple of nights. So, I'm going to try to get some tickets. Probably
I bet you are.
But
that's right up your alley, the whiny, depressing music.
That's right. I set myself up for that one. Yeah, we're going to need this trade to come through, though, so I can afford these tickets. And, folks, the Daily Call, like we said yesterday, it's the same thing we talked about here with France and Spain, but we got to get different opinions here, and that's why we have Cormac and Adam in the mix, and that's why the Daily Call is going to be a fun one today. And if you missed it yesterday, you see on the right side of the screen, it is for France and Spain in today's match for the first half to end in a tie. So you can see that France To just advance, you could trade on that at 59%. You could look at Spain at 41%, plus 128 American odds. But the crew at CalledIt traded the first half tie at 46% the other night. They believe it should be trading at 49%. Right now, it's at about 47%, so still some value to be had. Currently, that 47% comes out to plus 105 American odds. Now, if you want to get a hold of it earlier, like we always implore you to do so, make sure you head to www.calledit.media, and there you can enter your email. That's all you got to do, and you get our newsletter with all the information for the daily call and other topics of interesting, compelling trades that you can make. And the fun part about it, you can also make your opinion known. You can log your voice, whether you agreeing with it, saying, screw you guys, I disagree, whatever it is. We want to hear from you and see how you stack up amongst the rest of the community. And we have a good competitive spirit going on there to see who's going to be at the top of the leaderboard. But this is the daily call, and it's also part of the challenge, which CalledIt labels the run, trying to flip 250 all the way into $1 million. This is trade numero uno. Cormac, what do we think about it? Tie at the end of the first half. I know you liked it the last time when they had the tie. It did win. Do you think the same is going to happen with this call?
You know what they say, Danny? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm going to go with the call again today. I believe that we're going to be seeing another first half tie. And I think that, honestly, it's pretty straightforward for me. I think especially when you get down to the semifinals of the World Cup, it comes down to moments. And I think that those moments, when you get moments, what do they come from? They come from risks. And I don't think we're going to be seeing a huge load of risks, especially in the first half. I think second half, if you score a goal in the second half, you've got a great chance of winning that. Like, it's going to be very difficult. If you play 45 minutes of sitting back and defending, it's going to be very difficult to break that down. But I think the first half is where you don't want to take those risks. You want to be solid defensively. I mean, obviously, we talk about Spain's defense, and I've said it once and I'll say it again. I don't actually believe that Spain is that strong defensively, especially on paper. I don't think that, of course, yes, both these teams have top European talents, but do I actually think that they're that incredibly strong defensively? No. What I do believe, though, is that they are so good at holding the ball. They are so good at dominating possession that they're able to kind of negate oppositions from actually getting the chances in the first place, because you have to have the ball to be able to attack. And so that's how I see it with Spain. I think on the other side, France, I would say France actually have a stronger defense. Obviously, they've conceded more, but I think that just more so comes down to the game plan, the way that they go about playing football. And so I think between these two teams, if I'm completely honest with you, I do think first half is going to be slow. If there is a goal, I think it will come from France. And I think especially because of the way that Spain typically play. They play with a higher line. They play controlling the ball. France probably won't look to necessarily dominate possession in this match. What they're going to look to do is collect the ball and play on the break. Some people will say it's boring football. I love transition football, and I think that this team is a transitional monster. Mbappe, Dembele, Doué, and Olise to feed the balls in behind. Can you find a faster front three in world football? I'm not sure. So I think that they'll set up a bit more defensively. I think Spain will be happy to hold the ball. And so first half, realistically, the only way I see a goal coming is going to be if it's a Dembele, an Mbappe, a Doué counterattack. If not, I'm not so certain there's going to be a first half goal. No.
All right. So Cormac likes it. CalledIt likes it. Adam, let's throw it to you. Do you like the daily call for the first half to end in a tie?
Look, do I support it? I guess. I don't love it. I understand the objective here, which is obviously the price more than anything else, to trade on something at 49 cents to maximize your profit. Honestly, I'd be willing to leave a little money on the table and just go with something I have more conviction in, like, as you said, France to advance, to win this match, and getting that still south of 60 cents. I think you're seeing some value, considering it just feels like a consensus across the industry of people believing that France is the better team. Sure, Spain was the pre-tournament favorite, and then obviously had the situation with Cabo Verde, and now you've got France as the overwhelming favorite to go out and win this tournament. And I do tend to agree with Dane that I kind of feel like we're watching the final in the semifinal. I think that it's going to be one of these two countries that come out and ultimately beats, whether it's England or Argentina. But I listen to Cormac, and I will readily admit this dude knows way more about the beautiful game than I do. But by the same token, to say that Spain is either lacking defensively or isn't up to the hype defensively, doesn't live up to the way that we talk about it. I mean, one goal conceded across this tournament in 6 matches, 5 clean sheets, the only one allowed in the quarterfinals against Belgium. I have nothing but respect for Spain defensively. Now, all of that said, if we're looking at this specific trade, I think you're considering 2 different things, which is, one, are these countries both going to just kind of feel each other out? You know, France trying to get to a 3rd straight World Cup final. These clubs or countries have played, 3 straight relatively high scoring matchups, averaging 5 goals per, which is kind of crazy. Now, not within the World Cup, but Spain has won the last couple. So France is looking for some retribution. You would think Mbappe or Dembele, as Cormac talked about, is going to look to get on the score sheet early. I understand that, but it's not uncharacteristic of France, despite that aggressive attack and seeing multiple goals in every game here in the World Cup, with the exception of the one against Paraguay, that, we get maybe a kind of a feel out process to begin this thing. But if France gets on the board first, man, I'm not so sure that I'm going to feel great about this trade. Now, if Spain were to happen to get on the board first, and that's within the first half, yes, I do think France is going to answer. And I know a lot of people have invested in both teams to score, and I think that's a good way to look at this thing. I do think you're going to get some goals in this one, even if you're looking at maybe some sort of a, under 3.5 alt kind of thing. But I think I'll lean draw in the opening half, but to me, that's either Spain gets on the board first and therefore France answers, it's 1-1, or neither team is getting on the board. I think if France gets on the board first, you're not going to see a draw at the end of the first half. So I don't love the trade. I'll support it. I'll say yes. I already have on the CalledIt website. I implore other people to jump on there and get involved with the run as well. But I think it's going to be sweaty. That's for sure.
You know what? The more I think about this, you kind of swayed me there, ironically, even though I'm actually starting to think about this more and more. And when I first thought about this matchup, I look at this and I think of the event, the moment, what it means to be playing in a World Cup semifinal. And so teams don't want to take risks. That being said, and I have the lineups for both the teams pulled up here, which I keep glancing over at. And the more I look at it, the more I just keep thinking, like Cucurella against Dembele, Pedro Porro against Doué, Laporte and Kubarsi against Mbappe. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about that. Again, you bring up Spain only conceding 1 goal, and I think that they have been strong defensively. Have they really faced anyone that difficult? I mean, they faced
on France's level, obviously.
Well, that's my point. France have the best attack. I think they possibly have it, especially when you look at their depth off the bench. I believe that France possibly has the greatest attack in international football history. Like, I genuinely think this is a generational attack. I think that Spain have a average defense that look really strong because they have players who are good at holding the ball. They're not good defensively. Like when you see Pedro Porro, Cucurella in a 1v1, of course I still rate these players, but look who they're against. When you compare them to the opposition, they don't match up. It's not 1 for 1. And so do I truly believe that Spain will last the whole first half without conceding? And obviously that's not really the question, but that would mean if they do concede, they also have to score. And for me, when I look at this team, I know Oyarzabal is obviously the top scorer. Lamine Yamal hasn't really got things going yet, but I do still see Lamine Yamal as the only true threat in this Spain attack. So realistically, for me, the more I think about it, I actually don't think that this first half will end in a draw.
All right, look at that, Adam. You're swaying opinions out here. Even though you kind of did agree with the call, now we got Cormac flipping sides completely. I do think you make a good point, because I agree with what you said, that you if there is going to be a goal, you kind of think you need it to have to come from Spain, and then assuming France and their dominant attack is going to be able to equalize. If it's the opposite, I do agree. I'd be looking at that going, man, I think this halftime draw is going to be in trouble. So, yeah, let's hope that that's going to be the way it goes down. But
what's the price? I don't have it in front of me here. What's the price on France to be, to win the opening half? France to be leading at the break, because that might be it. an interesting. I know we're not changing the trade on the fly here, but it's something that at least is intriguing anyway. So I bet you're getting a decent price on it.
Yes, let me get the first half here while I pull it up. First half. All right, here we go. So France to win the first half, the yes is plus 207, 31%. Spain to win the first half, 25%, plus 279. And then, like we said, 47% for the tie at plus 105. So you're thinking you'd almost be more inclined to look at France to win the first half, or does that price change?
If I'm looking for value, and I believe that France is going to advance, and I realize that could be extra time or regulation, but yeah, if I'm thinking about just the team with the premier attack and the one that has 16 goals to Cormac's point across this tournament, and you got Mbappe who's in the Golden Boot race, he's co-leading. Obviously, Dembele is on fire lately, and just Cormac rattled off the matchups. If France gets on the board first, I think ultimately they're going to do enough to at least hold that lead going into the break. And so, sure, if I'm seeing value at, what'd you say, 30 some cents, I think that's a great number to consider investing in.
Yeah. I'd have to agree. I see the value there, and I just think Spain will look to win this match in the midfield. Spain will look to win. I mean, it's not a surprise. This is how Spanish football is played. They play with lots of passing. They play with being able to overpower with just breaking lines with passes. I mean, it's not a big surprise that a Spanish team would go about their football in that way. But I just think on either end of the pitch, you look defensively, I think Spain's defense is weaker than France's attack. And I think also, honestly, the opposite is true as well. I think that France's defense is stronger than Spain's attack. And so, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here. But if these are three options, yeah, I think France first half win. I would have to say that that's probably where I see the most value personally.
Fair enough. Adam changing minds out here. Cormac now, breaking news, not with the Daily Call anymore. He is not liking the look of it to be tied the first half between France and Spain. Adam still doesn't mind it, but he does like the alternative of looking at France for a bit more value, not only in the first half, but for the entire match. And I tend to agree. Look, if it was me putting down my hard-earned money for the top play, yes, it would probably just be the 59% trade on France to advance. I don't mind the first half draw, though. I actually like it better than when we were talking about it last week, even though it did win. I'm hoping the same happens here for the case of the run to get the trade number 2. But yeah, if it's France that gets on the board first, I think it's going to be a long haul for Spain to try to equalize before the end of the first half. But we will be finding out. Yeah, go ahead, Cormac.
I have to say, look, another reason to believe that France will go through, you never go against the rhyme. Think about the last time I was on the show. Holloway, all the way. Who won? France, advance, Spain, pain. The rhyme is telling me France is going through. The rhyme is telling me France is going through.
What do you have for England and Argentina?
Oh. Well, get back to me at the end of the video.
At the end, I'll tell you what. I'll give you 24 hours to think about it.
Oh, man. I can't knock it. He's right. He's 1-0 with the rhymes. We'll see if it moves to 2-0. Yeah, the Argentina-England one. That'll be good.
I'm excited. I'm GPT.
Yeah.
No, never.
I'm eager to hear what it's going to be, Cormac. We'll know if it's authentic. And, he came up with the last one on the spot. Did you come up with this one just as I was talking, though, just straight off the dome?
I saw the cal sheet. It says France advance, and I think Spain is going to feel some pain.
All right,
simple.
There we go. Cormac's got the rhymes. All right, gentlemen. Let's talk a little golf, shall we? Let's head to the links for another major here at the PGA Tour. How about the Open, or as Americans like to call it, the British Open, the Open Championship across the pond, golf's oldest major, the 154th edition at Royal Birkdale, the 11th time that the major is going to be held at that track. Hosted more Open Championships than any course outside of St. Andrews. Competing for the Clare Jug will be 156 players. Obviously, last week, the Scottish Open, kind of a prelude there across the pond going into this tournament. No surprise, like we were talking about last week. Scotty Scheffler at the top, world number 1. He's trading at 12% plus 684. Rory at 9.3% or plus 910. Tommy Fleetwood, despite still only having one PGA Tour victory, he is up there at 5.6%. Matt Fitzpatrick, who has been on fire this season, trading right below him at 5.5%. John Rahm, Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa, the list goes on and on and on. Adam, let me toss it to you first. When you look at this list, whether it's an outright winner or maybe a different department of what you can trade, what has stood out to you for the Open Championship?
Well, I wouldn't normally feel this way, especially going into a major, but I think you need to look at the top and you need to really consider Scotty Scheffler because you're seeing some value. And that may sound like a crazy statement when we're talking about all of the different incredible single digit value that comes below Scheffler, starting with Rory, who's coming off a solid performance there at the Genesis. But, you mentioned the Scottish Open. Well, Scotty was Scottish in the last one out because, again, dude missed the cut. It just doesn't happen for Scotty Scheffler. He hadn't missed the cut in 4 years. It'd been roughly 80 tournaments since he had missed the cut. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised, not that I know, obviously, but if he had made the cut, if he had had a good showing, and I'm not even talking about winning last week, but just, I don't know, maybe it's a top 20, a top 10. He performs like his typical self. I think you wind up seeing this trade a little closer to 14, 15 cents as opposed to 12. So I think you're getting some value on Scotty Scheffler to go out and win, show some pride, bounce back. Didn't have any exorbitant travel, obviously. All those guys staying over there for multiple weeks. And the fact that, again, it's a major. He hasn't won a major yet this year. I realize it's just July, but he's hungry. He's chasing. It's been a little bit by Scotty Scheffler standards. So there is absolutely value down the board. The hometown guy, Tommy Fleetwood's one that a lot of people are going to be on. People are going to be looking at Rory. People are going to be looking at Colin Morikawa. And you can make the case for any of these guys, as I'm sure, Danny, you being a big golf guy, maybe you will. But I don't think, as chalky as it sounds and as it is, you should be ignoring Scheffler. I don't want to fade Scheffler when he's angry, coming off of, again, that missed cut. I think he takes that type of thing, even though he did it to himself. It's just one of those things. Nobody punished him, but I think he takes it personally, his individual performance. I think he's been stewing on that for roughly a week at this point in time, and I'm eager to see the bounce back.
Well, that's a great point, Adam. I mean, value is relative, as we say all the time. And even though it's only plus 684 and people, when they're casually betting golf, you want these long shots. You want 50, 60, even 100 to 1 odds on some of these dudes. But the fact of the matter is, getting Scotty Scheffler at plus 684, 12% is a good look for the world's number one. Now, again, he's not been as dominant in terms of outright victories that we've seen the past couple of seasons. But even if he doesn't come out as the winner, again, it's just, where's the number now? Where do you expect it to close? Can he make profit along the way? And there is a good chance, which with now this added chip on his shoulder, which he's already, as you alluded to, an incredibly competitive guy, this could be a good opportunity to take the top of the charts, which seldom I'm doing. And Scotty's not a guy that I bet pre-flop before the tournament starts. I usually like to go from an in-game trading perspective, but this may be the time to do it before the tournament starts. I agree with what you said, Adam. Before I dish out some more, Cormac, I know you're our resident soccer guy, but we still gotta get some insight from you on the links across the pond here with the golfing. Is there any player, any type of trade that you would consider for this tournament?
Well, it's funny you bring up soccer because I can always make connections. And the most notable connection here, Rory McIlroy. Do you know what team he's a big fan of? I'll give you a hint. I'm wearing the jersey right now, Manchester United. So, of course, I have to back Rory. And again, all of the, you could call them conspiracy superstitions, they back me as well, because think about this. It's Rory for glory. Rory will find glory in 2026. I believe that Rory McIlroy. The rhymes are here. The rhymes are here. And watch, you come back to me after the British Open, and you're going to be seeing Rory lift his second British Open. He's only won it one time. I think after getting the back-to-back Masters, this is probably going to be the trophy that he looks forward to the most. Of course, obviously, he is from Northern Ireland, but I think generally speaking, this is probably a trophy that means a little bit more to him. So I do believe that he's going to go for it. He's going to give it his all. And again, Rory for glory, glory, Manchester United. I believe in Rory McIlroy, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to see him lifting the British Open this year.
Rory for glory. What happened, Danny, to Scotty Too Hottie?
Oh,
wasn't that a wrestler? I'm trying to remember. I think that was a wrestler.
You know better than me with that. Rory for glory. What a story. Yes, Cormac, that could be a good path to take with Rory McIlroy. I don't hate it. Look, anybody taking Rory McIlroy, you can't knock it too much unless you want a little bit better price. But you're right. This is probably one that, now that he's completed the career Grand Slam, back-to-back wins at Augusta, this has to be the top of the charts for him in his home area-ish. Obviously, instead of playing over there in North America. So I get it. Completely understood. I will say some of the other guys that I did circle out, and Adam did allude to one of them, Tommy Fleetwood. I don't love the price. I don't love it, but I'm going to throw a little bit of coin on Tommy. I mean, look, he just finished T13th at the Scottish Open, 14th at the Traveler Prior, 11th at the US Open, 11th at the RBC Canadian Open, 4th at the Memorial. I mean, this guy has been insanely consistent this year. And I've taken him several times, and obviously he hasn't gotten there to the top of the podium, but he did still get the monkey off his back when he won it last year. He finally got the coveted PGA Tour win. So you would think that that would give him some sort of relief if he is toward the winner's circle toward the end when we come to Sunday. But even still, I mean, it just sets up so nicely when you're looking at a lot of people's models. When you're making your own, his game sets up incredibly well. It's all about the mental aspect for him, which I think he can overcome that. The price isn't as appealing, but, you know, I'm still going to be beating myself up if Tommy has a great outing and I didn't get a piece of it. So I would look at Tommy. I'd also look at Tyrrell Hatton as well, coming over from Liv. Hatton right now trading at 2.2% plus 41.37. So he finished, he won actually in Andalusia in his last tournament for Liv. And obviously he's from England, so familiar grounds. This course sets his game up extremely well. So I think Tyrrell Hatton's a good look here too. Siwoo Kim finished top 10 at the Scottish Open. He's at 1.8%, 48 to 1. He has disappointed me several times this year, but his skill set is still top tier, and he should set up very well here at this track. And the last one, you know, Adam, you mentioned him too, Colin Morikawa. I'm not going to take him to win outright. You see there, he's at 2.9% plus 31.25. But I think he could flirt with him in some top 20 markets. Top 30, you're probably not getting good value there. But top 20 or maybe even top 10 for Colin Morikawa. Never count this guy out. He's been dealing with some injuries. I don't love him because he hasn't played, you know, since the end of June to win this thing outright. But I think he will be competitive and finish at least in that top 20 range. So those are some of the guys that stood out to me. I haven't delved too deep into the longer shots. Perhaps I'll do that tonight more so. But Adam, generally, I agree with you that I think it is going to be more toward the chalk with this tournament. So those are some of the guys that stood out to me.
Beautiful. Let's make some money.
Let's get it, baby. I like it. We need Cormac to get some more rhymes. If it keeps happening, no matter what we're trading, he's going to have to come up with a rhyme for it. So if Rory does win, we're marking that down, my friend. It's going to be.
Hey, good. Listen, we got a new run going on. The Cormac's rhyme run, we'll call it.
Fair enough. The
and
Cormac
it's week
rhyme.
2.
Yeah, week 2. All right, gentlemen. Before we cap this bad boy off, let's flip it back to the pitch and just talk about this World Cup as a whole. Now, we've done that a little bit over the past week, but the angle that I want to steer it in is particularly in the United States, and then we can expand worldwide. But we're getting to the end of this thing here, and it's bittersweet for us, especially, Cormac, we know you're watching soccer on the regular, but Adam and I are a bit more casual with it, and like many Americans, we're slowly falling in love with the sport, that it's in our backyard, and seeing the impact it's had and how exciting it's been. What do you guys think the impact is going to be in the United States post-World Cup? Because I think we kind of get this cycle where the U.S. says we're going to take it more seriously and people are going to become fans. But it's a bit different when it was right here in the States. Cormac, again, you know, you're completely glued to this. And then certainly from Adam's perspective, who's a bit more casual viewer like myself, curious to hear. But Cormac, from someone who's watching it every day, do you think the Americans like us genuinely mean that and they're going to pick a club overseas to watch, or they're gonna, you know, watch soccer right here in the States? Or is it going to be kind of the just, you know, we'll wait till the next World Cup to get the excitement going again?
Yeah, you know what? I think you'll get a mix of both, right? And to be honest, for me, the most important thing really isn't the average fan, if that makes sense. Now, let's just get this out of the way. The United States against Belgium, even though we did sadly lose, was the most watched sporting event in the 21st century that is a non-NFL in the U.S. So a non-NFL sporting event, it was the most watched, 50.1 million viewers. And so for me, that is already a tremendous green flag, that there's more eyes. Like, you can a lot of this is kind of speaking on hypotheticals. That's not a hypothetical. That is factually true. It's the most watched football match that we've ever seen in the United States. And so for me, that already gives me a little bit of encouragement. But I think that not only, obviously, are there more people watching, but with this cast of players, there's kind of players that now you can look at them and like they could be somebody you look up to. Because in the past, let's be honest, with the United States, we've been at many World Cups before. Even in '94, of course, we were in the World Cup. But when you look at that, like, is anyone going to be sitting there saying, oh, my word, when I grow up, I want to be like Alexi Lalas? I don't think so. I don't think people are dreaming of becoming Alexi Lalas. Are there going to be people that dream of becoming Malik Tillman? Are there going to be people dreaming of becoming Flo Balogun? That I do agree with. That I do believe in. So I think especially on the men's side of football in the United States, where we have struggled for so long, I think the biggest difference is going to be that there will be way more kids. There's going to be way more children that are inspired and excited to go and try and play like the players they saw at the World Cup this year. And so, yeah, of course, I have to support the United States and their efforts, their journey of trying to grow the sport. And I do believe that this will make a significant impact on not only the following of club football, but just generally the amount of kids that are playing this sport and choose to play it. Because I think for a lot of people, and actually I had a friend who texted me the other day, and I won't pull up his messages exactly, but he basically messaged me and said, Cormac, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm really enjoying watching soccer. I'm really enjoying it. I can enjoy 0-0 draws, 0-0 draws, and I still can find enjoyment out of it. And I think that's what a lot of Americans are seeing. In the past, people look at soccer, football, and they say, oh, it's low scoring, it's boring, there's nothing happening. But once you can get over that initial hump and see how the game's so exciting, even in moments when there's no goals, that I think once you get hooked, you're gonna stay hooked. So yeah, I'm really very, very hopeful for the future of the sport in the United States.
Adam?
I mean, I've got a lot of thoughts on this, and I'll try not to talk for 20 minutes. But, I think it starts with, Cormac mentioned the ratings against Belgium, where obviously the U.S. got absolutely curb stomped. I would have loved to have seen the United States prevail, emerge through that game, even though we know the United States would not have beaten Spain. I just would have loved to have seen what the ratings would have been, because that would have been off the charts, given the stage of the tournament, the caliber of opponent. Spain, Belgium, they are not created equally. We're talking again about a powerhouse, a World Cup favorite, the pre-tournament champion, all of these things. And so, I think that would have been really interesting. As it relates to maybe the U.S. audience beyond the numbers, I think that I don't know that Americans have so much fallen in love with the sport as they have fallen in love with the stakes. This is, my house is a soccer family. My kids play soccer. They play high-level club soccer. They watch soccer all the time, Champions League, Premier League, you name it. Soccer's on in the house constantly. All of that said, as Danny mentioned, I personally, while this does not apply to my children, am a little bit more of a casual when it comes to being a soccer fan. Now, I have absolutely fallen in love with the World Cup. I am going to miss the World Cup after we get through 4 more matches. I can't believe that we have had north of 100 matches at this point, and I have seen at least half of, I think, probably every single one of them. I have been locked in on this thing. But what I don't know is, have I been locked in because I am obsessed with it and entertained by it and invigorated and inspired and just, oh my goodness, soccer's part of my repertoire now? Or is it the dopamine hit of the fact that I have had an investment in every single match? Mm-hmm. And I continue to have investments in all of these matches until it ends. Now, has it better familiarized me with the sport and its top players? Absolutely. I am more eloquent discussing soccer today than I was a month and a half ago. There's no doubt about it. I also think when the World Cup ends, and yes, part of it is, hey, dog days of summer, although it's only going to be a matter of a few short weeks, really, until we fully dive into all things the other football, NFL. I just wonder if people truly will miss it. Now, kids, absolutely. Sport is sort of the, your soccer's your gateway sport for kids. It's the only one that you can start really playing when you're like 3 years old. And some kids are out there chasing the ball around. Other kids are out there chasing their friends around. And some are out there picking daisies and looking at butterflies. But you can keep playing the thing, except when we were growing up, if you're in your, 40s like I am, soccer was that sport that you kind of left behind, aged out of. You got to a certain age and it's, I'm going to go play baseball, or I'm going to play football, or I'm going to play basketball, whatever I'm going to do. Hockey, lacrosse has gained popularity. One huge difference in recent decades, and again, I see it with my kids and their friends, is soccer's popularity is hanging on. They are now playing this into middle school, into high school, and not just breaking away from it, if nothing else, fully committing themselves to it, having multiple teams at the same time, a travel team and a club team, maybe even the high school team, and it becomes an every day of the week commitment, and you're specializing. No longer are the days where you're just this 3-sport athlete and every sport has a season. Soccer has become a real love for a lot of kids that are growing up, to Cormac's point. I just don't know that, because soccer is not America's game and it's really down the totem pole. I mean, we have MLS as a, professional sport. I put that in quote fingers because in the pyramid that is soccer, MLS is effectively minor league football. So it's not all created equally to what you have were the greatest players in the world on the hardwood, on the gridiron, on the baseball field. They all reside in the United States. European players, international players covet coming over here. If you are an American player growing up playing soccer, dreaming big, you're not fantasizing about playing college or MLS. You want to be part of those upper echelon leagues. You want to go overseas. So that's one of the giant divides between soccer's popularity here in the States, where it's not our sport, versus some of these other countries. Players, like Wemby grew up dreaming of playing in the NBA. Mbappe didn't grow up dreaming of playing MLS. So you see what I'm saying, obviously, in terms of these comparisons. But is it gaining popularity? Is it striking an audience to where people are, have, even though he's been playing pro for damn near a decade, have just discovered, Erling Haaland, and looking at his social media feed and looking at the new Nike commercial and, looking at just what a goofball the dude is, and it's like, oh my goodness, I got to get a Norway jersey, or I got to go get a Man City jersey, and they are becoming obsessed with the guy. Sure, that stuff happens, but some of it is just culture. Like, I got a Roy Kent jersey because I love Ted Lasso. I follow Wrexham because of the TV show. These are the things that happen here in terms of growing popularity. It's cultural, it's social media driven, and I don't know how much it necessarily keeps up and follows the World Cup.
It's interesting to me. You bring up the point of like the MLS and how, no, they're not growing up dreaming of being in the US, but does that really matter? I mean, think about, obviously, France, Spain, England. Absolutely. Yes, you're right. France, Spain, and England are some of the top leagues in the world. And this is no disrespect to Argentina. Could you even name a team from Argentina? Could you name any players that currently play in Argentina? Of course not. But do you believe that Argentina is one of the best teams in the world? Did they just come off of winning a World Cup? Absolutely, yes. And I think the same could be said. You talk about players playing in America. Nobody dreams of playing in America. Who's that little man that you keep talking about, that you keep calling, quote unquote, the GOAT? Where does he play? I'll give you a hint. He plays in Miami, Florida, in the United States of America.
Did he do that because he's, just in the back end of his career? Or did he do it because of the lucrative Apple TV agreement?
I mean, sure, you can say those are true as well, but let's be honest, money talks. Money absolutely talks. The league is 10 times what it was 10 years ago. And so, yeah, obviously, if you want to come here and tell me that this is a league, a retirement league, absolutely yes. But sometimes retirement league gets eyes on the league. There's no question, no doubt, the MLS is a growing league. And so even more than that, let's be honest, the United States doesn't have to have the best domestic league in the world to be a prominent footballing nation. Those two things do not overlap. But I also think, furthermore, you talked about the investment and you talked about your own investment, and whether that be fiscal investment that you maybe have that gives you a reason to care. I think that equally also, there's people who have become invested in the sport and in the storylines, the players themselves. You can't tell me, as much as it pains me as a Manchester United fan to say, you can't tell me there's not going to be some Americans who now are going to go want to watch Erling Haaland play for Manchester City. Like, there's no way that isn't true. Do I believe they're making a horrible, grieve mistake by choosing the wrong color of club in Manchester? Yes, absolutely, yes. But am I still happy that they're choosing to watch the beautiful game nonetheless? Yes, I also believe that's true. We'll see what happens. Of course, it's not going to be a light night and day switch, but I believe there's no way that this won't at least contribute to the growth of this sport in the United States.
Yeah, I tend to.
I'll just say good luck to our social team cutting up that conversation.
You know who you're looking at. You're looking at a social team right here, actually.
Yeah, Adam, your opinion is irrelevant on this one. It's not making it, bud. Cormac's got the control here. I was going to say, too, I agree with you, Adam, and what I would add on to it, though, is that I think people will be more apt to, if it's on the TV, you'll be like, oh, I'm more interested to watch. I'm more compelled to do so. But will you actually go out of your way to wake up early on a Sunday before the NFL to do it? Probably not. But I think people will feel more comfortable with it. And then at that point, they will watch it and feel like they're more knowledgeable about it and everything surrounding it. So, and that's kind of how it was for me with the past couple of World Cups. And I think obviously, certainly because it was in the backyard, just increases it even more so. But yeah, to think people will really do it, at least like, maybe 30 years old or older and do that, probably not as much, but the kids definitely. I think Cormac at the same time made a good point about Tillman, about Balogun. Like, those are the guys these kids are going to look up to. You have a pair of them and they were studs, and that's really going to be what shapes this younger generation.
Weird you didn't mention Pulisic.
Well, yeah.
Did he come to the World Cup? I'm not sure.
I don't know. That's another topic that maybe we could save for the next time, but that one would be fun to get into with both of you, as most conversations typically are with Cormac, who you can follow on the socials at Cormac_United, our guy Adam Kaufman at Adam M. Kaufman, where you could follow him on X. And for everything Called It, make sure you head to the website www.calledit.media, where you could sign up with the email for the newsletter. We want to hear what you think about the trade. Click yes or no and see how you stack up amongst the community, and also follow along CalledIt.media on Instagram, CalledIt_media on X, and for myself at Danny Burke 5. But thank you to these fellas for hopping on and sharing their insight per usual. Thank you to everybody for tuning in to another edition of On the Record. We will be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. John Saponaro, Maya Campion, and another World Cup match with Argentina and England. We'll see if Cormac chimes in somehow and gives us his rhyme for that game. But until then, best of luck with all the action you got for the Open, for the match today between France and Spain. The first half tie is a daily call. Will it happen? Let us know at CalledIt.media. But best of luck with all those trades, and we will see you tomorrow on the record.